So now I want to talk to you briefly about emotional infidelity. For many couples, their partner has been unfaithful, and that's a very, very painful situation for most people to find themselves in. And often they are an innocent party, but just as often there are aspects of their behaviour that may have contributed to the situation without them actually knowing that they were doing that. But I've made a whole video series about infidelity, which you might like to buy at some later stage. If it's not an issue for you, then that's okay. But I did want to drop in just briefly something about emotional infidelity, because not everybody knows clearly what emotional infidelity is. So I just want to say that infidelity, being unfaithful, having an affair, is one of the main reasons why couples separate and their marriages end up in divorce. And I think that is a bit tragic, really, because there are quite a number of marriages where a partner has been unfaithful, and actually they have managed to work through it, grow through it, forgive and move through to something better than what they had. It doesn't always have to be the end of a marriage, but I appreciate that for some people the pain or the hurt goes so deep they just do not feel that they could ever trust their partner again. But it depends on the partner, and it depends on if they both parties really want to save the marriage. It can work. But now, moving on from infidelity generally to emotional infidelity. What is emotional infidelity? Well, there are, as you can see here, there are 4 stages to any kind of infidelity. There's the talking stage, there's a secret stage, there's a dating stage, and then you finish up with an extramarital affair. So these things usually start off simply, people just talking to each other. Mostly people don't set out to have affairs. They get talking to each other, then there's a line that gets crossed where maybe they spent more time with each other than they would be prepared to tell their partners about, or they'll maybe go and have lunch with this person. Mostly these things happen at work. They'll maybe go and have lunch, but they kind of have a gut feeling that it's not quite right, and so they don't tell their partner, or they wouldn't, it's something that they keep secret. And then as time goes on, it becomes more than lunch, then maybe it's dinner. And actually they get ready and they go out and they don't tell their partner, and they may even lie to their partner or their spouse about where they're going. And of course, if that goes on long enough, it finishes up in an affair. So the emotional infidelity, it starts off where somebody shares aspects of themselves and their lives with a third party. Now that is the amber light, that is the danger sign, when somebody starts to share aspects of their personal life with a third party. Now this is usually, most cases of emotional infidelity happen in the workplace, and it's about proximity. Proximity is the big factor, where they're working with somebody, they're seeing them on a day-to-day basis, and they start to share aspects of what they're thinking, how they're feeling, what they're so it's usually not just the details, and it was my birthday yesterday. I mean, that's kind of a little thing, that's a fact. It's emotional things of I've been feeling a bit down lately. That's confiding in the third party. Now, for a long time I saw people from the emergency services, the police, the fire service, the ambulance service. Those services, I had contracts to do therapeutic work with all of those, with the staff, if they had problems or difficulties. And you say in those professions people work, male and female, but it doesn't have to be heterosexual affairs, but mostly they are. They work together in pairs mostly. They have, you know, 2 people in an ambulance, 2 people in the police car, and 2 people, more than 2, at the fire service. So, but it's mostly ambulance and police, and you know, in the armed forces as well, where people are on service, in service together. And you know, especially I noticed it with police, where they would be called to a road traffic accident. Maybe, you know, somebody got killed or seriously injured, and they're at the scene and they deal with the emergency. Same thing with ambulance personnel, you know, they deal with the emergency, and then afterwards they'll sit in the ambulance or the car, and they'll debrief together, and quite naturally they'll talk about how are you okay? And they care for each other. You know, they're a team, and they have to care for each other and support each other. But actually, when people are in a state of high arousal emotionally about a situation, and it's a traumatic situation, and their feelings are running high, there's a lot of, and there's comfort being offered. That comfort causes them to produce oxytocin and dopamine and all those good bonding chemicals, and they can bond with each other. And it may be that they feel a level of comfort with that other person. And you know, it can happen it doesn't have to be the emergency services, it can be in the workplace, where they're getting a degree of comfort and attention and some good feelings that they are not getting at home. And you know, there may be perfectly good reasons why that's not happening at home. You know, it's one of those things. So it's not necessarily any fault of their partner or the wife, but it's the situation they find themselves in. So this form of infidelity is often a silent killer in relationships, and sadly I've come across a lot of people who have slid into that kind of a relationship with a workmate, and then actually gone on through this, from the talking stage to the secret stage to the dating stage, and then into having an affair. And for some have actually left their partner and moved in with the other party. Mostly it doesn't have a very long shelf life because they weren't aware or conscious of all these underlying dynamics that were going on. So like I say, it's not that these people set out to have an affair or be unfaithful intentionally. They find themselves in a situation, they slide into it rather than decide to go into it, and you know, it really is something that people need to be aware of the dangers of it. And it starts off by sharing something of a personal or emotional nature with a third party. So the contributing factors to emotional infidelity are having a lack of awareness, just not knowing how this operates. A loss of connection with their partner, although it doesn't necessarily have to be, but often there is some loss of connection going on because, as I say, most of you people who are watching this video program will have got into whatever marital difficulties you're in because gradually, without realizing it, you became disconnected. Another contributing factor is the need for significance is being met outside the couple relationship, and we've talked about the 6 needs and how we all need to feel important and special and valued, and if we're getting that from somebody else, that is a need that's being met, and it is a huge contributing factor. the increased proximity with a third party at work. Now look, this doesn't mean that you can't be friendly with your workmates. Of course you can, but you need to know where to put the boundary in, that you don't cross over physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially or socially. You know where to draw the line, and you know where not to go. So often, I didn't put it on the list here, but naivety is another factor which causes people to drift into being emotionally unfaithful. And of course, a lack of agreed ground rules. You both need to discuss without getting heavy duty about it, but just put some ground rules in of how you expect each other to behave. You can't run each other's lives and you can't run your partner's life, but you can say, well look, here's how I would like it to be for me, what feels okay. So, you know, it's be friendly with your workmates, be friendly with people. I mean, the other thing is people drift into being emotionally unfaithful online. They get into forums and chat rooms and Facebook, and you know, they get too involved with people online, but it's when that moves into other levels beyond just the normal like and commenting on just news. So that's something else that you both need to discuss without laying down rules for each other. Have a mature adult to adult conversation, not a parent to child conversation, and agree some ground rules. So as I've said, you know, emotional infidelity is quite serious, and in some ways it can be more serious than sexual infidelity because, you know, not that I necessarily agree with sexual infidelity, but often it is a one-night stand. It doesn't actually mean anything. It doesn't make it okay. But actually there can be emotional affairs where there hasn't been any sex, but there is much more of a bond formed with the other party. So an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So I hope that has helped you to clarify any issues you might have about emotional infidelity. Bye for now.